Please welcome to the stage your Vice President of Operations, Jennifer Dodd.
I said, good morning! It has been a great week. First, I want to thank you all for treating me as I've been part of the team all along. But more important, for treating me as part of the family. And I really mean that. I didn't hesitate to jump right in and pull that rope as hard as I could, in spite of the failures from some of the other ones, Dan. Just kidding, just joking. That was just a little fun there. No, Dan was right. Not only did we not have the right shoes on, but we have desk jobs, people. Come on. So I'm sure he's right. We will be vigorously practicing every week, right, Randy? And we will come back ready to win next year. Hey, real quick, I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to thank the Operations Committee for the people who put this show on. I mean, this thing was amazing. It was the best I have seen in years, maybe if not ever. And last night was the icing on the cake. So could we have the Ops Conference Committee stand, please? And Mike Lester is a part of that. Mike Lester, please stand up for a second. You stay standing. This guy is not only the best boss ever, and he happens to be my mentor, but this conference is possible because when he started, he demanded. He said, no, it's not negotiable. He scraped, he scrimped, he pulled together pennies, and they had peanut butter and crackers for snacks, but it was his vision that made this possible. So another round for Mike, please. Thank you. All right, well, with your permission, we're going to jump right into next level leadership. Are you ready? Yeah. That's okay? Well, I'm a straight shooter as an operator, so I'm ready to go, and I'm going to tell you that we are in a crisis in the industry, and it is of epic proportions. Make sure this is working. Is it not working? Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. We're facing this serious crisis, and this crisis, you all know it, we've heard it this week, is systemically low and declining employee engagement levels, right? We've called it lots of different things. We've blamed it on certain generations, but I'm here to tell you that it's based on something else, and I have the answer. We're going to share that at the end, so take notes. This low employee engagement is so low, we need to go to the experts and find out how bad it is. And my clicker is not advancing fast enough. I'm going to try this other one. This is from Gallup. Gallup, you know who Gallup is? Okay. So Gallup is a data analytics company, and if you go to their home page and you ask, what do we do? They say we work with leaders and organizations to help them solve their most pressing problems by providing them data and analytics about everything that matters. That sounds pretty important, doesn't it? So if they can give me data and analytics, I'm going to trust them on everything that matters. And on employee engagement, they said that it is at a historic low and that it is tragically declining year over year. In fact, it's at 31%. That's unbelievable to me. I mean, think about that. That means that 7 out of 10 of our employees come in, and before they clock in, they're thinking about what else they want to do. No surprise to you, right? Some of them hate coming to work. They're not passionate at all. And it's just a means to buy gas money or food, maybe, but they're not engaged. Why is that? Well, let's see if anybody's getting it right. So Gallup also said that the best ranked companies, you know, the ones that have candy machines in every corner, yoga at work, daycare for their employees, golf carts outside, you know, like Google and Facebook, right? There are some other really great companies that win best places to work that may not have those big of a perks, but they've got great benefits, we got to admit. And even in those companies, only 3 out of 10 are still disengaged. 70% are engaged when they come to work. How can that be? If I got a nap room and free lunch every day, I feel like I'd be really happy to be at work. But evidently, there are quite a few that still aren't. And we're not immune to that problem at Melting Pot. In fact, it's the reason why we asked, in fact, Bob implored our franchise community to participate in the employee engagement survey. For those of you who did, thank you. You did yourself a wonderful favor. Take the insights from that survey, glean the learnings and put that data to work. For those of you who didn't, it really was confidential. And you missed such a wonderful opportunity to hear the voices of your team. So don't miss that next year. Please, I implore you to not miss it next year. So what are we to do? Well, this is not a new problem. I've been watching this from the catbird seat for 35 years. 35 years I've been studying leadership in the restaurant industry, as Dan said, because I started as the Wendy girl 35 years ago. And this was me, donning my red wig and my freckles and this blue and white dress and waving people down on the street with balloons. As you can imagine, not the coveted job of a 15-year-old, but it paid $3.35 an hour, and I needed a check. So I took the job. And you know what happened to me that was interesting in this job is that I started feeling things, real surprises, little glimmers of light that would bounce out of me, that were surprises. I had bigger plans, much bigger plans. I wasn't going to be in the restaurant business. This was just a paycheck. It was a means to an end. But I noticed that this crazy manager thought me standing on the curb with balloons was going to make people stop and that sales were going to go up. He was right. And not only did they stop, they smiled when they saw me. They got out of the car happy. They walked faster. How could this be? And he was happy because sales were up. The goofier I acted, you know? And so that made me happy. But what made me the happiest is I felt like I was the best part of someone's day, whether that be the customers or the manager. Well, I got promoted to cashier and then on to drive-through, and my career continued to grow, but I had bigger plans. You know the story of bigger plans. Many of you started out that way too. I was in college. I was going to be a microbiologist. And I, like my boss, he has a microbiologist degree as well. And I knew that I was going to not wear that ugly uniform and work nights and weekends. Who wanted to do that? That's terrible, right? But just like John Lennon so aptly wrote in his song, "Beautiful Boy, life is what happens to you when you're making other plans." So I happened to meet a boy in that drive-through lane almost 35 years ago, March 22nd. And he became my boyfriend 35 years ago. And our first date was March 23rd, 1983. And we have now been married for 33 years. Best thing that ever happened to me. Thank you. He deserves a bigger clap than that. And we got married, and 18 months later, we welcomed a beautiful baby girl, Danielle, and then 2.5 years later, a handsome, strapping young boy, Jesse III, and life was happening pretty fast, right? And I moved on to Hardee's, working with a great operator. She was teaching me a lot, and she saw the light peeking through in me even more. And she helped me open that window, and I started feeling strengths that I didn't know I had, and she convinced me to make the leap into the restaurant industry. It was my choice, but she helped me see the path, right? And a lot's changed since then. That Wendy girl has gone on to work with some of the top national brands that you've heard about this week already. People like Arby's and Applebee's and Shoney's and Dunkin' Donuts, and I've had responsibility for up to 2,000 units in 13 countries on 3 continents. But the best part is that meant that I got to work with 20,000 of the most amazing people you could meet, people just like you. And that was the favorite part of my job, was interacting with all these people and helping all these teams thrive. But no matter how well we did, no matter how much money these big companies spent on training programs, which were valid, on analytics or leadership, we still had this declining employee engagement, and I had to have a magic formula to it. It just had to be solved. So I kept searching for this magic formula, but it wasn't easy to find. But just like any aspiring wizard, I was looking for the ingredients to the magic formula. And I learned about the difference in this great manager that Sheila taught me to be, and a leader. You've seen that chart, manager versus leader. The manager controls, the leader empowers. You know, it's like 12 different things, right? Very valid chart. There are times being a manager is what you need. You need to control sometimes. I would call it probably like a 70-30 rule. 70% leader, 30% manager, but that should flex based on your team. But I thought, well, wait a minute, I don't know how to be a leader. So like Dan said, I dove into leadership and I started learning what leaders do. Leaders create an inspiring vision of the future. So clear people can see it, feel it, smell it, right? Vision. Then they inspire people to engage with the vision. They get people motivated to commit to that journey and plug in. And then they use their skills to bring people and resources together to fuel the vision. And then they draw great talent. Hey, this works. They build the strongest teams this way. Look at what you've built. Look at this room. Look at what Front Burner Brands has done under Bob Johnson's leadership and Mike's guidance and Dan's guidance in our ELT. Really, it's unbelievable, the strength we have in our team. It's really dry here. So this is pretty much a great job description of the leader's role. And if you're trying to copy all those down, like Dan said, this will be available for you on Fran Connect and other resources. But as much as I learned these things and it helped, it still was not the magic formula. It still did not make everything better. So I learned about servant leadership. Hey, that's pretty powerful stuff. We've heard about it all week. It's really true. A servant leader is called to serve first, then lead. And when they do that, they create a more caring and just world. You see that. I've heard your stories. We've seen people transform right before our eyes, even in the franchise community, because they are bringing out the best in people. And that is amazing. There's nothing more powerful than seeing people grow right in front of you through the whites of their eyes. But as much as I focused on servant leadership, it still wasn't enough to take my leadership to the next level. So I had to keep looking for this magic formula. And I did kind of what you did this week. I went to seek out great operators and leaders, attended conferences, many of them self-paid for, college courses, everything you can think of. If you want to see the Rolodex or the number of books in my library, come over anytime. I'm happy to loan them to you. And they worked. They helped me. You know, content like you got this week from Mike Lester on Upping Your Game, from Danielle Kilgore on Taking Care of Your People and Taking Them With You, from Dan Stone, from our amazing FBCs and LMCs who gave you incredible insights this week, from our ops team and Chef Jason. So many great learnings this week. And I saw you taking notes, and I have complete confidence that you're going to go back and you're going to deliver this content strategically to your team. And you know what? It will make a difference. Your day will be better tomorrow than it was today. Next month, you're going to be a better leader than you were this month. I guarantee it. But it won't be enough to solve this employee engagement problem. And I'm sorry. Don't be offended. Anyone who produced content, don't be offended. Even those best companies, remember, they only get 70% engagement. So if they can't solve it, do it. You've got to do it. But it still won't be enough. So what is the magic formula? And I kept digging. And I was looking everywhere that I could. And I started finding little hints and seeing things happen through all these learnings that I was digging through. But the biggest thing that helped me was asking questions. When I noticed energy pouring out of me, what caused that? When I didn't dread going to work or going to a meeting, why was that? So I started learning about my own passion. Do you know your passions? That's step one for you to figure out. You have to align your passion with your purpose. It's very important because you've heard that quote, when you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life. I promise you, there's weeks I work 80, 100 hours a week. Man, I don't work a day. I don't work a day because I have strategically made sure that I chose to plug myself into things, companies, and people. And this is the best place I've ever worked in my life. And I love what I'm doing every single day, no matter how difficult it is. It doesn't feel like work to me. And my family could tell you that. And that's what your team is wanting. That's what you're wanting, right? So I started asking those questions. And what is my magic? Do I have magic in me? And I do. And see, there's a difference in magic and arrogance. So the first thing is, you'll realize that. It's okay to know your magic, know your power. You have to know that. There's no shame in that. That is meant for you to use for good, for humankind. Arrogance is selfish. It's taking. It's controlling what's for you. There's a difference. So, finally, I found the magic formula. And I'm going to share that with you today. You ready to jump right into that? They're single words right now, so you can just jot those down. The first ingredient is motivation. Now, there's no genius to that word. I'm actually going to share some quotes by Zig Ziglar today that really point the way for us. Zig said, motivation is the fuel necessary to keep the human engine running. You know that, because you're motivated, and you've worked with people who they're the Energizer Bunny. You don't have to tell them what to do. They go find something what to do. You know, they're self-starters, right? And then you have those people that are like donkeys. You have to kick in the butt every day, or a mule to get them going, right? Or give them a little spark, like a spark plug. And that drives you mad. Why is that happening? That person is not lining up their passion with their purpose. There's a reason. Not maybe they should be there, but there's something missing there. So in the beginning, I thought, my mission statement as a young leader actually said it was to motivate others. My job was to motivate my people. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's not right. Motivation is self-fed. It is self-placed. I cannot motivate you. All I can do is create the environment for my team to be motivated, and then make sure you have the tools to motivate yourself. That is a key difference to this first ingredient. So my job is to be your greatest champion, your greatest cheerleader, to help you get out of your own way, to remove your barriers to success, even if your barrier is you. And then to bring you wood, to bring you kindling, to throw you some sparks, to put other people with you, which is what Mike did with this conference, to spark you. But you have to flame that wood every day as your own motivation. And so does your team, and you have to help them see that. The second ingredient is belief. Love this quote by Zig. Surround yourself with people who see greatness in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. How many of you had someone who did that for you? Who saw greatness in you? There's nothing like it, right? How many of you have had to have that happen to you more than once? When you went through bumps, or you fell flat on your face? I sure have. So that's the second ingredient, so powerful, because for someone to be self-motivated, they need to know that there's somebody that believes in them and believes in the magic that they hold for them to keep digging to find it. And you are usually the leader that's in front of them the most, and so you have the most power to do that. The third ingredient is affirmation. A lot of people have gone further than they thought they could because someone else believed that they could. My goodness, that is one of the most joys of my life. A great servant leader is a masterful conjurer that creates a vision that's not even real. It may be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years out, and you can't even see it. But I see Ashley's magic. I see people's magic in them. And I say, hey, you know, I could see that magic connecting with this picture. Do you see that, Levi? Do you see that, Kim? And then all of a sudden, you start creating your own version of that picture. I don't tell you what color the house is or the car is. I just help you start going alongside me with creating this vision of your future. Next thing you know, you believe and you're self-motivated. You see the formula? It works. And then, of course, I teach you about affirmations, which you should be doing. Look them up, how to write affirmations and practice them every day. Most powerful thing you'll do in your life. And help your people do that. The fourth ingredient is training. You've heard a lot about training this week, but I love this Ziglar quote. You don't build a business. You build people, and people build the business. You heard me say it Sunday night. Ask anybody that's known me for 30 years, they'll tell you. I've always said it's a people business. Always has been, always will be. You know that intuitively, which is why you get so frustrated when you're short on people. But you can't look at people as a tool. They're a blessed opportunity for you. It is your responsibility to take those people that have graced your life and help them find their magic, to set them free to do what they were called to do, what's been placed inside them since the minute they took their first breath. And when you train them on that and you bring them the right skills and tools for your business today so they can do their job well, trust me, that works to help fuel their affirmation and their vision and their self-motivation. The fifth ingredient is time. Why is time so important? Well, first of all, I didn't come up with this formula overnight. It took lots of time, many years. And your team member needs time to start believing and opening that door of that magic. Ziglar said, take the time to be kind and say thank you. Why do I love this quote? Because if you're spending enough time with me to be kind to me, you're spending time with me. If you are saying thank you to me, you're noticing something that I'm doing well. Isn't that quality time? It has to be. Doesn't have to be a lot of time, but it's time nonetheless. Everybody wants to know that you're walking this path with them. You just can't rush the process. The sixth ingredient is accountability. Ziegler said, you can get everything in life that you want if you help enough other people get what they want. No greater truth than that. Leaders that think they're leaders need to look behind us and see, are people following? Because if they're not, you're not leading. Leaders that want to go further, higher, and get promoted, you don't get promoted on your own. Your people promote you. There is no other way. If you ever get promoted without people promoting you, it's short term. Trust me, it won't last, nor will it be fulfilling. People promote the leader. So it's your job to help your team feel valued every day and to create that self-worth in them. A key for me became, did you learn something from me today? Running a restaurant, there's no way an hourly employee was allowed to step out of my restaurant unless they could tell me, what'd you learn from me today? I'm telling you, that's the truth. It didn't have to be a lot, it didn't have to be monumental. It could be just a little tiny tweak to something that we were already working on, fine. It could be a little seed or a thought, but if you didn't learn something from me today, I didn't earn my paycheck. Forget PPA and comp sales and profitability, that matters, but I won't keep that long if you don't learn from me today. And I treat the RC team members the same way. We don't get daily shifts together, but we have one-on-ones, and it is in my heart and goal every 2 weeks when we meet that they learn something from me every time we're together. And if they don't, they need to stop me and say, hey, I haven't learned anything from you over the last 2 weeks, including this session. Man, there'd be nothing I appreciate more. And no one's ever done that for me. I just started that on my own. My first one-on-one with Mike Lester, he made me cry. And it was not because he beat me up. I was actually coming over to John's store in Columbia, Maryland to see him and Dana. And I had my one-on-one with Mike in the hotel room, and he said, hey, I need to finish 15 minutes early because I want to teach you something new in every one-on-one. Oh my God, the feeling of gratitude that hit me, I started bawling. I couldn't believe it. No one had done that for me. The feeling that overwhelmed me, that he gave me that gift, I'd never experienced being on the receiving end of that. It's weird because I didn't know him before. I can't believe he'd been copying my notes all these years, but somehow he had tried to keep up with my formula. But anyway, it's a powerful gift that you give your people. So, motivation, belief, time, training, affirmations, accountability. That is the formula. So let's see what it looks like when you help someone get out of the genie in the bottle. Because that's the way I think our employees feel. Their talents are all bottled up, waiting for you to set them free.
It's hard to make out.
Why? 10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck. Hang on a second. Wow! Wow! Does it feel good to be out of there? I'm telling you, nice to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, where are you from? What's your name?
Aladdin.
Aladdin. Hello, Aladdin. Nice to have you on the show. Can we call you Al, or maybe just Din? Or how about Laddie? Sounds like, here, boy. Come on, Laddie.
I must have hit my head harder than I thought.
Do you smoke? Mind if I do? Oh, sorry, Cheetah. Hope I didn't singe the fur. Yo, Rockman, haven't seen you in a few millennia. Give me some tassel. Yeah, yo. Say, you're a lot smaller than my last master. Either that or I'm getting bigger. Look at me from the side. Do I look different to you?
Wait a minute. I'm your master?
That's right. He can be taught. What would you wish of me?
Be ever impressive.
The one contained,
Often imitated.
but never duplicated. Duplicated. Genie of the lamp. Right here, direct from the lamp. Right here for your very much wish fulfillment. Thank you.
Amazing, right? Do you see the enthusiasm the genie felt when he got set free? 10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck, right? Wow, does it feel good to be out of here? That's exactly how your team feels when you set them free. Because I've experienced it, man. I've been set free. And there is no feeling in the world better than that magic pouring out of you. And you know, wait a minute, I'm out of here. Now, he still needs something else. And if you're familiar with the movie, he's not completely free yet. He's only out for a little while. And we're going to talk more about that. But it is really important that you pay attention to what he told Aladdin that your wishes could be, because that's what people's magic is like. It is ever impressive. It is uncontainable. It is often imitated but never duplicated. And I want to hang there for just a second, because this is really a barrier to people releasing their magic. First of all, ever impressive. That's a real problem. I'm going to tell you it's a real problem. This goes back to cavemen days, when you had to be alike. You had to stick together. You had to be in the herd. Because if you didn't, if Tom got excited and went off on his own, he was probably eaten by a dinosaur, right? So it wasn't cool to pull yourself away. But obviously we've evolved as humankind. We still don't like it when people look different than us. We get jealous. That happens as an hourly employee. You see it in your service staff. You see it in your management staff. I'm here to tell you it happens with executive teams. It happens in corporate offices. It happens in boardrooms. It is the saddest thing I ever see in my life, because I see it. It's so clear in me. I watch it happening. When a person feels threatened by another person's magic, what breaks my heart is not that they try to stop the other person from shining. What breaks my heart is what they're doing to themselves. Because I wouldn't be jealous of your magic, Chad, if I knew I had it. Why would I want Chad to hold his magic in that bottle? Why wouldn't I be his biggest champion to set that free? The only reason is because I'm so bottled up myself that I can't stand to watch him shine with his magic, Paul. How crazy is that? But we do it, and it's the saddest shape of human society that I see today. And we interview people well. We interview darn well, because you don't like turnover. And I'm telling you, I interview darn well, and I'm just as guilty as you. And what we do, you got 10 servers, they're all qualified. 5 assistant managers, they're all qualified. Why do you hire the one you hired? You see a little bit of that magic coming out of them. You didn't even know that, but that's what drew you to them. And so then you hire them, and you get busy back on your way, and who helps train them? Those people that are potentially threatened by their magic showing up. So I'll tell you one thing for sure that Bob Johnson does well. He is an amazing ambassador of people's, he didn't even know it, he didn't almost say this, but I've watched him. He sees people's talent, and he pulls that out of them. He's a magic opener for sure. He's a grand wizard. And he will let that magic out, and he lets them shine. And if anybody else feels threatened by that, he helps them get through that. That's what you got to do. That's your job. Be like Bob. The second thing he said is they're uncontainable. Hey, when I help Dan set his magic free, he might be all over the place. Remember when the genie came out and he was kind of like too hyper? Well, that's fine. They got to get their sea legs, you know, help them hone themselves and not be too threatening to the others and be kind of everywhere. Show them how to take that magic and connect that with their purpose. He said it's often imitated. How many times do you hire, especially out front, a hospo or somebody else that's really gifted, and then you hire a new one and they try to do it just like them? Not going to happen. You can't imitate somebody else's magic. You might be gifted. Zach has got a server. Zach, what's his name, the one I like so much? Where you at, Zach? What? Yeah, Tyler, amazing. Guy, big dude, comes across like he's from NASCAR 2000, right, Christy? So, country as they can be. Sits down and talks about how his girlfriend's making him eat quinoa, and he's not sure what quinoa is. Well, you put that man on that floor, and I'm telling you, he shows out. Those guests love him. Zach told us that, and I don't know if I've ever seen anybody transform. Tells the greatest jokes. Guests stopping me during table touches and say, oh my gosh, you got to multiply this guy. You've never seen anything like it. So if I went out there and tried to do what he did, Tyler, there's no way. But I may have a service magic. I may care about people, but mine's going to look different than Tyler's. Does that make sense? And then not duplicated. There's a manager in here today, and I won't call your name, but they took another general manager's place. And they said to me, I happen to know the situation, they said, you know, I'm working to figure out what they did before me. I'm trying to figure out how he was so successful. And we talked about it a little bit, and I was walking away from the table, and I said, you're going to do great. And he said, as soon as I figure out how to do it exactly like he did. And I stopped, and my head popped around. And if he knows who it is, and he'll tell you if he wants to tell somebody. I said, don't do that. Don't put yourself in that box. You won't do the job like he did, nor should you. That is not what you're called to do. You put your spin on it. Sure, you can learn what he did that was replicable and what you should practice, but you own this. You be you. It's not duplicated. All right, I got to move forward here because I could talk about this all day. You heard, if you've seen this movie, you know that Jeannie says that each person's magic is phenomenal, awesome power. And it is. You want engaged team members? I'm telling you, this is it. Never work a day in your life. Sales are up, profits are up. Gallup's got all the research that shows that. Average sales are up 20% when people use strengths-based assessments, which helps people find magic. They don't call it that. That's my term, but profits are up 30%. Don't do it yet, Jay. I want to talk about this slide before we show this movie. Sorry, I clicked too fast. So there's about 30% of you in here. If I did a poll right now, you're probably thinking I'm about nuts. And you're thinking, there's no way she's right. I can't believe this woman is an operator. Bet she can't even work entree. Because she's up here talking about magic. You know, how silly is that? And wizardry. And honing her craft. That's okay, I'm not mad at you for that. I get it. Some of us take more time to season into an idea. But let's talk about what's at stake. So I just shared with you about sales and profits and engagement. We know we're having a hard time recruiting in the industry. We know we're having a hard time with turnover. Don't you think that all those problems are worth solving? But I'm going to show you one that's much more powerful. And it's about your responsibility. It is unavoidable. You will not live a fulfilled life as a leader and a manager if you don't help your people release their magic. Go ahead, Jay.
What would you wish for?
Me? No one's ever asked me that before. Well, in my case, forget it.
What?
No, I can't.
Come on, tell me.
Freedom.
You're a prisoner?
It's all part and parcel of the whole genie gig.
Phenomenal cosmic powers!
Itty bitty living space.
Aw, Genie, that's terrible.
But oh, to be free. Not to have to go, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? To be my own master. Such a thing would be greater than all the magic and all the treasures in all the world. But what am I talking about? Let's get real here. It's not gonna happen. Genie, wake up and smell the hummus.
Why not?
The only way I get out of this is if my master wishes me out. So, you can guess how often that's happened.
I'll do it. I'll set you free.
Uh-huh, yeah, right.
No, really, I promise. After I make my first 2 wishes, I'll use my 3rd wish to set you free.
Well, here's hoping. All right.
I'm fighting back tears. And I've seen that thing 1,000 times. I know what that feels like, don't you? And I know what it feels like to be the employee that gets hired for the interview. And you tell it, and trust me, the more you know your magic, the more you show up in the interview and say, hey, this is my magic. This is what I'm great at. This is what I'm going to bring. And people say, okay, yeah, great, we want that. And you do it to your employees. And you start the job, and the first week you say, no, can't be too different. No, got to get back in that bottle. Got to get back in that lamp. Wow, there's nothing more damning to a company or an employee than that. Don't do that to your team. If you owe them. And as employers, we are so guilty of doing what Jeannie said. What do you need? What do you need? What do we need? That's what's wrong with employee engagement. It's especially horrible in this industry, but frankly, it doesn't matter the industry. Employees are tired of being this beautiful cauldron that's waiting for you to pour these ingredients into that they want to bubble out of. And they're tired of being stuck in that genie bottle and feeling like this, all clogged up. And I don't blame them. There is no sadder fate in life than to feel these magical things in you and not be able to release them. And unfortunately, many parents don't even do this for their children. And that is the saddest part of all, but that's a whole different subject. So some of them come to us broken, or maybe I've seen cases where they came to you confident because their parents didn't do well. And then still we try to force them, and we call them disengaged millennials that want everything handed to them. And that's not the case. This problem was 35 years ago, 25 years ago. This is not a new problem. But the cool thing is that you have the power to set them free. So, I'm asking you to do just that. I'm asking you to pick up your wand and to set them free. How do you do that? It is not that hard. I'm asking you to spend time with them, to ask them questions. Start talking to them about their passions. Start helping them to see their strengths. And now some of you have heard me tell the story of meeting Jimmy Johnson after he took the Cowboys to the 3rd Super Bowl. And I had a chance to ask him, Jimmy, how did you do it? So many people build great NFL teams and they don't even get to the Super Bowl, and you did it 3 times in a row. And he basically told me this without calling it magic. He said, I watch the top NFL players and the green guys. I watch them all on the field, and I see things in them. And I say things like, hey, you're pretty good at that. Hey, I love when you do that. Do more of that. He said, sometimes I'll say, no, don't do that. That affected the team this way. But mostly I don't do that. And I'll even say, hey, help Randy with this. Help this other person with this. And I watch them. And if they transform and they can do that, then I know they're going to be on my team. So set your people free. And then you're going to solve your engagement problem. And it's just like the new car. The one that you buy, and then all of a sudden you're seeing those cars and you never saw them before, right? Trust me, you're going to start seeing the magic. You're going to start seeing all the clues. How do you think I saw that in Aladdin, in a cartoon Disney movie? I mean, do you feel like that was a powerful example of what I'm talking about today? Man, I'm telling you, I look for it everywhere I go. And I would love to meet the guy who wrote that and say, did you think about this when you were writing it? Because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure if he didn't, he sure was luckily gifted, because it made total sense to me. I look for it in every movie, in every person, in every conversation. I'm addicted to finding it, to be honest. I'm addicted to leadership development and helping people grow. That is what my mission is to breathe life into others. So just like the new car, you're going to start seeing it when you start looking for it. There are other resources to help you. There's 2 books that are at the hospitality stand, these books. Now Discover Your Strengths and Strengths Finders 2.0. And I am going to give these 2 away today to 2 people that I know for a fact do a great job releasing the magic in others. First, and it's not because he's mine, Levi K. Will you stand up, please? You want to talk about a magic lifter? This guy is unbelievable. And so, Levi, I'm going to give you the Strengths Finders 2.0, and it's got an assessment in there that you can give to your team and help them start finding their strengths. And I give you permission to buy more of these if you need them for your restaurant. Thank you for being a great magic bringer. Levi helps more people create their own magic, and sometimes than he even gives himself. So he trained Kim Silva, one of our best franchisees, mostly successful. She was his assistant manager. He's got a young female assistant manager. She's 21 years old. Mike and I were scared to death for him to promote the girl. Couldn't believe, how can a 21-year-old young girl, first management job ever, be an assistant manager? Levi had a family emergency, had to leave for several weeks. Man, she rocked that thing like Mountain Dew. Nothing dropped. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And why? Because he's been pouring into her and pulling out of her. Yeah, she's a star, no doubt. But Mike pulled me in his office and said, look at her self-review. You won't believe what the insights this girl has into her soul. And I'm telling you, it's because she's being led by a man who pours into her soul. And I'm very, very proud of him. Thank you for that. There's another person in here today that is not only going to get the second book, but she is actually going to take home the wand. And that is Becky Chapman. I'm going to ask you to come up, Becky. I've only met Becky in 2 conferences, and I'm telling you, see, when a person is a grand wizard, they don't hide it. You can't hide it. This woman brings out the best in people everywhere that she goes, and she's quite humble about it. She has got 4 of her managers here, and she made sure that not only I got to meet them, but she tells me about their strengths, and she tells me what she wants me to watch for and help them grow, because she's doing that. She's always helping to dig, and I mean does the most unique things for her people. It's unbelievable. I'll let her tell you about it for sake of time, but you're the first Grand Wizard I've ever met and given it to, so thank you. Good job. And you also get that other book, the Now Discover Your Strengths book. So take that book before you leave, please. All right. So thank you to those who are doing it. And for the rest of you, I've got a tip for you. There's some 3x5 card stacks out at the hospitality desk for you. One for every person in here. I created these 20 years ago. These things were so powerful for me. They, back then I didn't have printers that were affordable. I hand wrote these. It took me an hour and a half a day to hand write these for every shift. But let me explain it really fast. Team member position, top priorities for their position for the day. What's the number one thing you want them to do if they're on Cheese Expo or they're on dish, whatever that is. Side work, that could be for anybody. Detail cleaning duty, right? Above and beyond support. What do you want them to do to slide deploy, to help another person if they get down? Who are they watching out for on the team, like Jimmy Johnson said? This is the gift part. This is where the magic starts happening. Every day they have to give you feedback before they leave. You. Why do you need them to give you feedback? They need to write out a sentence or a word for you as the manager. You have to tell them, hey, you clock out at 4 today, right? Make sure you come to me by no less than 8 to 10 minutes till, so you can give me my gift today, and I'm going to give you yours. If I'm an hourly employee and you're the boss, you're the leader, and you allow me and respect my feedback without being defensive, what do you think that does for me? It opens up my magic window even more. It helps me to see, wait, you have faith in me? You've got confidence in me? You're taking what I'm saying to heart, especially if you go incorporate their feedback. It could be as simple as, we needed to be a little faster here. We needed to seat faster. It could be something good about you. I told you last week we needed to work on this, and you did this, man. You're a great manager. Thank you. But they should write something down and make sure they do it. I don't care, again, if it's one word. The real gift is from you to them. Again, it could be a challenge. It could be you were late again today. You identify why they're late. It makes the conversation go deeper. Write out something that's constructive. And then it could be gifts. You're so awesome at this. I want to see you do this more. And you did it. Look at how you're growing, Sharice. This is amazing. And write that down for them. And here's the best part. Put it in the 3x5 card file. Come time for review or whatever, promotion opportunity. Pull those cards out and you lay them out. The whole story's in front of you. Talk about being a masterful conjurer that's creating a vision of the future. That right there is paving the road for all of that, right? So those are there for you. The servant leader, like I just said, is a masterful conjurer who eloquently paints a vision of a future that doesn't even exist. By lining that up perfectly with the untapped talents of your team, those that you serve, that's their magic. That I truly, truly believe. So I'm asking you to just pick up the wand. Pick up the wand and realize what is at stake. No one has ever asked me before, as Jeannie said, please send me your notes. Let me hear from you when you go back, because you won't get it right every time. If you need some help, call me. I'm here for you. FBCs are here for you, but I really want to hear the celebration stories of freedom. But you don't have to get it right every time. That's okay. Sometimes, remember the old Bewitched show when Aunt Esmeralda would cast a crazy spell and they'd have to call Dr. Bombay to come fix it all? That's okay. We're all here to help you, the whole RSC, and you're here to help each other. You got a masterful Grand Wizard sitting here in the audience. Call her. Sorry, I'm not just blowing your phone up. But definitely just keep trying, because it's worth it. Let's watch this clip to see how amazing the back end of this is. Jay.
Jeannie, I wish for your freedom.
One bona fide prince pedigree coming up. What?
Jeannie, you're free.
I'm free. I'm free. Quick, quick. Wish for something outrageous. Say, I want the Nile. Wish for the Nile. Try that.
I wish for the Nile.
No way! Oh, does that feel good? Oh, I'm free!
hitting the road. I'm off to see the world.
Jeannie, I'm gonna miss you.
Me too, Al. No matter what anybody says, you'll always be a prince to me.
There's a third person in here that I want to recognize that emulates that, and that's Zach. Zach, will you just stand up for me? Last night, Zach asked me, I actually invited myself to dinner, and he agreed, graciously, I might say, at his expense. Just kidding. Anyway, they were celebrating one of his other employees that had left his seat and had come here and finished nursing school and was starting a job as a children's hospital nurse. But he had already called her. He had already connected with her. He cares about his people. When they go off to see the world, he cares about them every step of the way. And Christy and I saw that when we visited his restaurant. We heard those stories. Some employees he lost, and then they came back. Let's give Zach a round of applause. Thank you, Zach. You know, when Aladdin made the selfless choice, and if you remember the movie, he thought it cost him his princehood. How many owners promise even employees, managers, how many managers promise employees the world if they give them their best, and the employee gives them their best and then they don't get the other side of that coin? How sad is that? It's not like anybody doesn't see that. You see it, they see it, right? And then we've heard the quote from somebody this week used it, train people so well that they want to leave and make more money, but treat them so well they want to stay. I'm telling you now, the gratitude that Aladdin felt is the same gratitude I feel towards Mike Lester, towards Bob Johnston, when I get to go to work every day, towards my team. They let me show my magic. They are so appreciative and supportive of my magic. And I feel that gratitude towards them, genuinely, every single day, because I know what it's like to be in that bondage, and I'm not. So if you just pick up that wand, use the magic formula, make sure that you create that environment for motivation, believe in your people even when they can't see it in themselves, affirm their future, help them create a vision that they can see, feel, smell, buy into, and make it a reality. And then you hold yourself accountable to keep them on that journey. I assure you, just like this picture, you're going to see a grand wizard appear right before your eyes. Thank you very much for your time this morning.